Oh yeah, you gotta get
Grifty.
You gotta get
Grifty.
in here. It's time to get
Grifty. 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 Grifty.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Grifty here. Everybody hear me? Make sure audio's going good. Hey, thanks for tuning in tonight. We got a special episode of This Is Not a Test. First interview on the stream. A lot of drama going on with Dr. Karlyn Borysenko as of lately, and tonight we have the woman she accuses of being her stalker. She throws a lot of accusations around, most of them false. Anyone who's been paying attention the last couple days knows that I've been accused of doxing her friend, Mr. Aaron Campbell Brown, just by saying his name. And the worst part about that is he's a convicted child pornographer who's been sentenced to 9 to 12 years in the federal penitentiary for his crimes. I believe he's out at this point in time, but registered sex offender. Nothing I've said is anything but public information, but yet I'm still accused of doxing. So let's, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this. Let me bring her up. And
howdy.
Hi, here we go. So this is Tina, known on Twitter as Buffalo Sponks.
Yes.
And I'm going to let her kind of get into this off the beginning and kind of just tell us where this all started. That's kind of probably the best place to start. So you've interacted with Karlyn for a while. I believe you guys know each other from the knitting world.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead and jump right in here and let us know kind of where you guys started. Were you friends at some point in time?
Yeah. So this is an epic tale. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat know the story, but obviously there's people who don't. You don't know shit about me, so you're going into this blind. So buckle up, because this is a story. So, for all intents and purposes, the story really starts late 2019, and it might seem completely unrelated, but it's relevant later on in the story. So, the end of November 2019, I found my ex-boyfriend dead on his couch, and I was a dog walker at the time, which is a full-time demanding job. Naturally, I was very traumatized by this, didn't handle it well. Going into 2020, around February, my boss and I just kind of amicably parted ways. It was like she recognized I couldn't really do it at that point. I was fed up with dog walking anyway. Really wanted to focus on yarn because that was a side hustle at the time.
Got it.
For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a yarn dyer. So February was also when the pandemic started hitting. So holy shit, all this stuff is happening. The world is shutting down. I just stopped my very lucrative job as a dog walker. I'm jumping into the yarn dyeing world, which is kind of a little saturated sometimes. There's a lot of yarn dyers out there.
Okay.
Nobody knows who I am. And on top of that, the knitting community is extremely woke. I don't know if you've ever heard of the knitting wars. I mean, there have been witch hunts, purity spirals, businesses have been demolished.
Right.
Some guy almost killed himself and then was attacked a few days later when he showed up at an event. I mean, it was horrible. So
got it. So I know that's actually how Karlyn kind of came to prominence in the social media world, the right-wing world, and kind of started her career as a pundit, if I'm not mistaken. Is she was calling out that wokeness in the knitting world.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew her before then.
No, it was really like spring of 2020. It was shortly after I got into dying full time. And the reason that I gravitated to her so quickly was because I realized that, you know, the knitting community is very woke. I am not woke. I can't keep my mouth shut, and I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. So I thought to myself, well, at the end of the day, if I wind up being a failure as a yarn dyer because people don't like my politics, well, I'll go work at Starbucks and like at least keep my integrity intact or something, you know. But I found a couple people who were not woke, and Karlyn was one of them. And
Okay.
Karlyn being very loudmouthed and very obnoxious and very, you know, like she's not afraid to pick fights with anybody.
We've seen that.
Clearly stating the obvious there. She seemed like a good person to kind of stand near and gravitate towards and kind of, you know, ally myself with. So there were a couple of us that were really, she felt like a breath of hope initially, you know, like, okay, this woman isn't afraid of all these god awful people who are trying to dox people in the knitting community and destroy businesses and stuff. And there would be witch hunts where people would target businesses, and then somebody would sound the call and be like, yo, this business is getting attacked for XYZ. And then me and Karlyn and Carrie Smith and like whoever else, we would rush to that business's defense and be like, you know, spread the word, this business is under attack, let's help them. You know, we don't want to see small businesses get attacked for stupid bullshit because, like, for example, somebody used the word gypsy on one of their pieces of stuff for sale, and that was deemed like a unforgivable offense because
Wow.
gypsy is apparently a
So
slur.
it's like as woke gets then.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
so I'm guessing like if you were to knit or crochet, I don't know the world, you know, forgive my ignorance, but if you were to make like a poncho that would traditionally come from from Mexico, you wouldn't be able to call it a Mexican poncho
Unless you were
as a
Mexican.
white woman.
No, that'd be cultural appropriation, and shame on you, bigot. Do better.
Got it.
Go do the work.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So you discovered her after she had kind of had her big controversy and started off as a fan then.
Yes.
Okay,
And,
so that explains it.
yeah, and I really believed in her. Like a lot of people, we really believed in her. I mean, a couple of red flags, but not anything that seemed too big to really pay attention to. It was like stuff that you just thought, oh, just ignore it. It's little in the grand scheme of things. There's something off about her, but the bigger picture here is that we don't have enough people fighting back against this insanity in the knitting community. So even if she's a little off or whatever, we need to stick together, you know? This was like, especially as somebody, like my livelihood depended on this. So I was extremely cognizant of the fact that if I tried to stand alone, it really wasn't going to work out too well. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I get that. I've come under some fire since I started doing this thing because I hesitate to ever fully condemn another creator because I don't know what is going on. Like, I don't know the backstory, you know, as someone just kind of getting started into this. I know there's a lot of talking that goes on in the background. You interact with these people in DMs and, you know, Telegram groups and Discord servers. So I'm very slow to like attack any other creator, and I've caught some grief over that. But you know, particularly with the Eliza Blue stuff and Fair and Balanced, when she had all her stuff where the documentary didn't come out and everything else, you know, a lot of people criticized me for not condemning her, and I just wasn't going to do that because there's a lot of stuff going on in people's lives that we don't know about, and I don't see the point in attacking people for non-significant mistakes that are relatively on the same side. It just doesn't, friendly fire doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So I definitely get that. So where did things start to go sideways with her?
Well, there was the Ingleside Hotel incident. Are you aware of that?
I'm not. I have zero background on you guys' story. So Karlyn came into my sphere during the Eliza Blue thing. I had just started my account. I, caught some lightning in a bottle. My Twitter account blew up. I kind of ended up near the front of that, hosting some of the big spaces on it and everything else. So I was a target for Karlyn. And I had known about her just as kind of being in the online world. I knew who she was from when the whole thing blew up in the first time, and she made appearances on Rubin Report with Michael Malice and stuff like that. So I knew who she was. But I didn't know any of her background. And in the whole Eliza Blue saga, I had my little investigative journalist hat on there, which, by the way, it's a lot of work. Credit to all those people, and
that was a huge story. Like, major props to everybody who found. I mean, I read through a lot of that. There were so many moving parts and little bits of information. God bless y'all for that. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks with no sleep. None, it seemed like. So anytime you slept, someone else was scooping you on new information that was breaking. It was rough. But at the same time, I'm eternally grateful for it. It amplified my platform. I've met some really, really good people, through it, that we've kind of helped each other out as we're growing. Couple new channels. Shout out to Jess, Waifu Kron, and the Autonomous Zone with Jack and Howard and Mug. All of us kind of are, we're really close, and it's cool. And so there were some good bonds made out of it. And I think we did some good work. I think Eliza has at least been exposed for who she is and isn't really able to grift off everyone. But Karlyn, on the other hand, managed to make it out of that unscathed. And I think I have to apologize to you and a couple other people as the Eliza thing kind of wound down. I believe you were tagging me and stuff, and some other people were tagging me and stuff once she had blocked me, trying to get me to pick up on everything that was going on with her. And I was just so exhausted, so tired of the drama side of it that I didn't want to do it again. But here I am a couple months later, thanks to being a mod on Good Logic's channel and her being a guest in there the other night, that rekindled our feud. So here we are. Yeah, and that she's been doing that for about 4 days. So
she's been doing that for years, if we're going to be perfectly honest.
Fair enough. All right. So you were a fan. You felt like she was one of your few options to stand behind you. And you said, what hotel incident?
Okay. So the Ingleside Hotel incident. There's a whole Kiwi Farms thread about her, but I don't know if Kiwi Farms is still down. I know it was down for a while.
I try to stay off the farms. Like, it is what it is, but I just try to.
It is worth it, though. I gotta tell you, everything is documented there. It's freaking.
I get it. It's just so hard. I've seen so much stuff on there about people that I know not to be true, that it's really hard to use that as any sort of reliable sourcing, just because I'm mildly autistic, but I'm not autistic enough to sort out what on there is 100% true and what's just straight trolling. So I try to stay away from it. The farms are great. They do good work sometimes, but it's just not for me.
Gotcha. So the Ingleside Hotel incident, there was a conference, I believe this was in Wisconsin. I forget the name of the conference, Better Discourse maybe. And Karlyn gets to the hotel, and there's a water park in the hotel. But in order to go into the water park, you have to have a wristband. And Karlyn goes, and this is according to Karlyn, she goes to check out the water park, doesn't have her wristband on. According to her, of course, the perpetual victim, the security guard was extremely rude to her and screamed at her. Then she goes to the front desk to complain, and they were like, well, no, you should have had your wristband on or whatever. And then she wound up getting evicted from the hotel later that night because apparently, and there are no cameras at the hotel, so there's no footage of this, unfortunately. I would pay to see that footage if there was. Apparently, she was running up and down the hallway, banging on people's doors and screaming at them to be quiet. which is totally sane behavior from a grown woman. She denies this
doctor.
story. Yes,
A doctor.
Yes, an organizational psychologist. She claimed that she could not have done it because she was on the phone with Mike Harlow. She tried to drag him into this and use him as her alibi. And if you've seen his video on her, he goes into the timeline of like why he could not be her solid alibi because they were only on the phone for like 20 minutes or something. So
Right.
Anyway, she winds up getting evicted from the hotel. The next day, some of her supporters call in bomb threats to the hotel. And there was supposed to be a wedding there. The wedding got canceled or something or pushed back. I don't remember. But the point is, it caused a lot of disruption. So, this happens, and then she's telling her story on camera, and she's got her crocodile tears and everything. And at the time, I still believed her. The story sounded really fishy and weird, but I just thought to myself, well, I'm still thinking of her in good faith, and I'm thinking maybe there's something that she forgot to tell us. Maybe there's missing parts that are going to come out. Sometimes when you go through something really scary and traumatic, you don't remember everything all at once. So, maybe the story will unfold and, it'll unfold in her favor and we'll see what really happened. And that kind of didn't really happen. She threatened to sue the hotel. I mean, obviously at this point, right. That's not how it's gonna work out.
Yeah, for me that's not a surprise, but I guess as a fan, that was your eye-opening moment where you were like, wait a second.
Yeah, red flag all over the freaking place. So at this point in the year, this is like, I want to say this was maybe like August or something. We're going into autumn, and I was still not recovered from, I hadn't gotten therapy or anything after my ex-boyfriend died. And so I didn't realize that I was walking around in shock for a year. I thought because, I was working and I wasn't crying all the time, I thought I was okay. Turns out I wasn't okay. So around the election of that year, I wound up just getting off social media because I just didn't want to talk to anybody anymore. I needed a break from everything. And shortly before that happened, that was when Carrie Smith had walked away from Karlyn. And she had made a post kind of calling Karlyn out and saying, you threw people under the bus, you're a narcissist, you're not a good person, whatever. I don't want to put words in Carrie's mouth. I don't remember exactly what the post said, but I remember reading it and going, holy shit, Carrie Smith is one of the nicest people on the planet. And she just called out Karlyn. What am I missing? Like, what is going on here? This is crazy. So it was like a day or two after that. That was when I got off social media, and I wound up actually getting off social media for a year and a half. Well, not a year and a half. It was like maybe like a year and 3 months. So during that time, I wasn't looking at anything. I was not paying attention to anything on social media. No YouTube, no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, like no nothing. I was a complete hermit. I stayed in touch with maybe 2 people. And God bless those 2 people for hearing me out because they were like my lifeline during that time. But during that time, I wound up getting on Talkspace and getting a good psychiatrist. Wound up getting on Lexapro for 6 months to rewire my brain. Found out my brother had cancer, which eventually killed him. Wound up developing an eating disorder for a couple months, which I lost 20% of my body weight in 2 months, which was like, holy fucking shit. Wish I could do that again in a healthy way. But anyway, and on top of that, my best friend got married, moved away, decided she just wasn't interested in being friends anymore. So it was a really stressful time, and I just didn't want to deal with all that. I needed to heal. I needed to heal mentally. I shut my shop down. I completely just withdrew into myself and did what I had to do to become a functioning person again, because I wasn't functioning. Like, full stop, was not functioning.
Right.
At no point was I institutionalized. None.
Okay. So
0
that's the
minutes and
time.
0 seconds.
So that's the time frame that she accuses you of being in an institution.
She also accused me of having been stalking her for 2 years. 2 years ago, I wasn't on social media. So
okay.
Yeah, 2 years ago I was having an eating disorder and like morning stuff. So that wasn't.
Got it.
Yeah.
So and I just want to point out that's not uncommon when people go through trauma, like finding a loved one, passed away. That's a different type of trauma than just losing somebody. Actually being the one to find them, and it's never an easy situation, and people do struggle, and everybody handles that in a different way.
And he had no
So,
family, so I was the one who had to handle everything. The funeral, all of the, I had to talk to the EMTs and the detective and everything, and had to deal with the coroner and the asshole funeral home up the block. Like, I had to take the cats in because he had kept our cats when I moved out. So I had to get our cats and get them situated, and they suddenly decided they hated each other. So it was like this
right.
whole stressful thing. And it was a big freaking hot mess. And for her to turn around and be like, Tina was institutionalized. She said on another stream, actually, a couple months ago, that I was psychotic and that I had been on antipsychotics and I never got over it. That is also a lie.
Okay, so when all this happened and you stepped away from social media, before that happened, were you guys still friendly? Were you still a
Yeah.
supporter? I'm assuming you were, a supporter of her channel, like in her discords, all that.
Not a paying supporter, but
Okay.
she had, her last Twitter message to me had been, "You can come on my show anytime."
Okay. So you guys were good, and then you just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. You stopped getting on social media. You were dealing with your own stuff.
And then
A year passes, and you kind of have your stuff back together. So you get back onto social media. Do the attacks accusing you of being in the hospital start right away?
Oh, no. So what happened was, I started, before I officially got back on social media, I just kind of wanted to pay attention to stuff, see what I had missed over the past year. It was a little overwhelming to think of all the stuff I had missed. So, I go on YouTube. My cat's going to join the stream at some point. Sorry, she's really jealous. First thing I saw, I get on YouTube and I see a 4-hour stream from Karlyn about Carrie. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, who does a 4-hour stream about another person unless they're doing like a dissertation and speaking about a historical figure? Like, okay, a 4-hour documentary about Abraham Lincoln, sure. 4 hours about Carrie
we've seen
Smith?
this week she likes to do lots of streams talking about people. So
her record is actually 6 hours and 53 minutes about Adam Krigler. Somebody might correct me in the chat. I might be off by a few minutes, but it was almost 7 hours long.
Well, that's because Krigler booted her. So that probably really set her off.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see this 4-hour stream, and I'm assuming you had already, you said her interactions with Carrie was already one of the things that had you questioning whether she was someone that you should associate with or something like that. Yeah. And then you see this 4-hour stream. I'm guessing that was kind of the nail in the coffin. As you're coming back from all this, you see this, you're like, okay, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, it wasn't so much initially, I don't want any part of this. It was kind of shock initially, like, what am I looking at? And me still foolishly thinking, there's got to be an explanation for this. There's what's going on here. Like, what am I missing? What do I not know? Like, why
okay, so you're still giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, because it's just so outrageous. You look at that and you're like, there's got to be a reason for it, right? I mean, I'm a reasonable person. At the time, I did not realize she was not a reasonable person, however. So I kind of like look at her channel to see what else she's been talking about. And there's a whole bunch of other Carrie Smith videos. And I'm like, okay, so apparently this turned into a feud while I was gone. Okay, this was like a whole big thing. And then I go to Twitter and I see the whole Hitler went to heaven debacle. Do you know about that?
Yes. So when I started getting into her, I did know about her post. Basically, is that the one where she was basically claiming that everybody chooses how they die or when they die? And she got into trouble about basically saying that the Jews chose to die in the Holocaust.
They chose it in the spirit realm, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. That's not in any of the pictures you sent me. So, let's kind of real quick, I didn't ask you beforehand just so I can keep an eye on it. What type of time window are you looking at tonight?
I am totally flexible.
Okay, cool. Works for me. So I want to give this the attention it deserves because she gets on anytime your name comes up. What I've seen is she just attacks ruthlessly, and she's got a large platform. Joe even said it's bigger than his. And from what I can tell, you don't. You have a Twitter presence. Do you have a YouTube or Rumble or anything like that?
I have a YouTube for yarn dyeing stuff, but I'm not like
Okay.
a big content creator. I
But
mean,
so
I
you
do
keep this clear of that, to keep the craft moms happy and all that good stuff. You
a
just
lot of
don't
them are
want
in
to.
your chat right now, by the way.
Hi guys, thanks for
They
tuning
were
in.
all
I
really
appreciate it.
excited.
Hey, more credit to them, man. That stuff. You know, some of our chats on Twitter over the last day have proceeded to turn into exchanges of pictures of the work people have done and stuff like that. And looking at those things, that's incredible that people still have the skills to make sweaters and blankets and all this stuff that you guys are doing. So, shout out to all of them. No, it's nothing but love coming from me. So I do want to kind of get into some of these things you sent me as far as when you became a target of her. How did that happen? Was there at some point in time where you kind of called her out, where you were
Yes.
like, "Hey, okay, let's hit that." What caused that? It was the Carrie Smith stuff.
Well, the Carrie Smith stuff had me looking at her like, "You're a freaking train wreck. What the fuck is going on with you? Like, why do you hate Carrie Smith so much?" And I had also, naturally you want to look at the other side, and Carrie wasn't saying fuck all about her. So this was obviously a one-sided feud with Karlyn being the one side. So I was brand new back on social media, just kind of, shaky legs, getting back into it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be quiet for a while. I'm going to see what she does, see if she says anything. She seems like really trigger happy all of a sudden. So, but I wasn't really thinking about her too much. I was busy, talking to my customers, telling them where I'd been. I'm so sorry I had to dip out for all that time. And, I'll be back and better than ever soon. I promise, whatever. And what sent me over the edge was I saw Karlyn post something. So she ran for governor of New Hampshire. I don't know if you know that.
Yep.
Yeah, she was really big into Jeremy Kauffman. And one day she posted a thing, and I had sent it to you. It was encouraging people that if there was a draft, you should trans your kids and say, your man child identifies as a woman, blah, 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 so they can avoid the draft. And that really, really fucking pissed me off. Not because I really thought that there was going to be a draft or anything. I mean, I'm not sure if anybody really thought that was going to happen. But it's the fact that, my dad was very old when I was born. He was 58. He lied about his age, though. He was born in 1928. He lied about his age so he could go fight in World War II. So
Okay.
to see this bullshit and be like, oh, have your sons become women so that they don't have to fight for their country. Like, okay, sure, it's a fucking bullshit war and they shouldn't have to fight in it. But at the same fucking time, like, it offended me to my fucking core that somebody would encourage that and double down on it and say, no, why would you fight for your country? Just get out of it. And so I find it hilariously ironic that now, a year later, she's screaming about warning people about their kids being transed in schools, when a year ago she was like, oh, hey, trans your kids. Need a way to get your kids out of war? Hey, your son's a daughter now. Like, so.
And here everybody can see this is what Tina's referencing. This is a tweet Karlyn sent out, basically, endorsing what Jared Kaufman has to say here. And he does clearly say, quote, if there's a war, I recommend that if you have any male children, have them identify as women. They're safe that way. So when is this? This is 2000. Do you know the date on this?
Shit, I don't have the date. I didn't have it on the screenshot. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So would it have been, when was he running for Senate and her running for governor? I think that was 2018, correct?
No, this wasn't when he was running. So this was from last year. This was right after I got back on social media last year.
Oh, so this is within the last year.
This is like mid-February, early March of last year.
So since Biden's been president.
Yes.
So I just want to point out, because, you know, the main thing I focus on here kind of is politics and culture war stuff. So this is a really big point that I want to focus on, because my consensus is Karlyn is a lefty who's grifting off of the right as controlled opposition to throw dirt at people who are actually making waves on the right.
Yes.
That's kind of what I've seen. And so Biden had already reinstituted transgenders in the military by the time this came out, because that was one of the first things he did. Trump had ended it, and one of the first things he did was reinstate that when he was inaugurated. So, you know, just kind of digging into this a little bit more, and the Libertarian Party is questionable at best, particularly the older Libertarian Party. Before the Mises Caucus took over and Angela McArdle took over as the national chair, there were a lot of weirdos in the Libertarian Party, and a lot of them were lefties. You know, Gary Johnson wasn't great. Jill Stein was even worse with the trans stuff and all of that. This won't keep your kids out of the draft, people.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. They allow transgenders in the military now. So why do we have a Senate candidate telling you to have your children identify as a woman? And why is someone who claims to fight so hard against, you know, the trans in school agenda supporting the message to trans your male children?
You're going to find that's a pattern with her, that everything that she claims to be fighting against, she somehow winds up supporting in her own personal opinions. And it really makes you wonder, how invested are you in your so-called activism when, you know, out of one side of your mouth, you're like, oh, the schools are doing this, the schools are doing this. And then the other side of your mouth, you're like, you deserve to have your children trans. I will laugh every time it happens.
Right.
It's like,
right. And I kind of, the other night when I went over her stream, it was 2/3 of the stream was her just crying about, look at all the good work I do and why am I not getting credit for it? And I pointed it out then that the stuff she's pointing out isn't new. She's not breaking any like upper level big story stuff. She's drilling into some details. She's getting screenshots from training sessions to show exactly how they're doing this stuff. And there is merit to some of that. I don't want to take that away from that, and particularly
Right.
from her audience, because it seems like most of her work is crowdsourced through her audience. So I don't want to take away from what they're doing, but they're not making revelations here.
no.
They're giving everybody the details to argue with, which, like I said, has merit. But it's just funny that you see this stuff in the background where, and she told, you know, one of the things she said with Joe was he deserved to have his kids trans,
Yeah.
because he's not focusing on the right things, and he's there. Joe isn't an activist. Joe isn't a news guy. Joe's an entertainer. That's what he does. That's what a lot of us on here do. I'm not a journalist. I was able to do some digging on Eliza and pull some stuff out, but that's the only thing I've ever done. Everything else, I'm using other people's reporting and I'm putting my opinion on it. And that's the same thing Joe does. And there is value in that, but she doesn't seem to think so. She thinks
you're gonna find polarized thinking with her a lot. If you're not an activist, you clearly don't care. That's a common theme with her. So
got it.
yeah, you're gonna see that over and over again. It's black and white. You win, you lose. If you didn't win, you're an utter failure. You lose every single time. Blah blah blah. It's like there's no in between with her. There's no nuance. There's no gray area. It's just, you win, you lose. You're an activist. You're a do nothing. You're not doing anything. She also seems to think that you can't possibly be an attractive feminine woman and have any kind of impact. Like, she goes after Chrissy Mayer all the freaking time. She went after Sarah Gonzalez the other day and was like, blah, blah, blah. You just go to the mall and what do you and your friends do? And you're not doing your makeup and buying push-up bras or something. And it's like, what is your obsession with other women's femininity? Like, why?
Well, yeah, as a man, that's kind of common. Women are the worst to each other.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely.
So I don't get it. I don't understand it. Me and my fiance, she made a comment the other day. We were watching some show and the guys were ready to fight each other 1 minute, and then they just figured out what the problem was, realized they weren't so far apart, apologized for acting like assholes, and then everybody was friends. And she's like, how do men do that? How do men do that?
Yeah, no, there's grudges will be held.
Yeah, you guys hang on to stuff for a long time. So okay, so she went crazy at the hotel.
Yes. So that, that happened. That was my last thing before I got off social media. I get back on social media, see the whole trans your kids thing, and that was when I called her out because I got fucking mad at that. I was like, what a disgrace to men like my father. Like, seriously, go fuck yourself. So I wound up getting on video that night, and I just did a live stream for my, my customers and friends from Instagram. I was like, hey, let's talk about stuff. Let's, see what I've missed, and let's chit chat. And can we talk about this Karlyn thing? Because what the fucking hell, has she gone off the deep end? Do any of you still follow her? And I had preemptively, okay, this is the best part. I had preemptively blocked Karlyn before I posted anything to my Instagram. I blocked her across every single platform. She somehow knew that I was going to do this stream, which means either she had a flying monkey stalking me or she herself was stalking me on a sock puppet account.
Oh, I said that to you in chats earlier, that I'm certain she'll be watching, and I'm certain that she has alts following me and probably you and everything else. So how do you know that she knew about this? Yeah, what's up, Karlyn? How's it going? So how do you know that she knew this stream was coming?
Somebody must have peeked and saw that she said something, and she made like some threatening sort of like, I look forward to seeing what you have to say, Tina. I was like, wow. Okay, cool story, bro. It's not for you. I'm gonna go talk to my friends. You're not invited. Bye. So.
There you go. Well, I welcome all viewers. I just want to point it out there, Karlyn. I'd love to talk. You have such a problem with things I've done personally and want to accuse me of doxing, which I'd love to argue the merits of that accusation. And you've threatened litigation over this stuff. I'd love.
Sue me first, please. Yeah. Please. Like you said last night, you're like, I have money, sue me. No. Me first. Ladies first. If you're gonna sue anybody on the stream right now, come after me. Please.
There you go. You heard it here first, Karlyn. Tina's your huckleberry. Go find her. So well, that's funny that she heard that. Okay, so this stuff comes out, you make your video. What happens then? Okay,
so the video is I deleted it a while ago because it's just like, I was trying to make my channel look more professional. So now like all my videos have thumbnails and stuff, and they're mostly just yarn dyeing videos. I wanted to get rid of all the whatever dregs I had lingering from like 2020 or whatever.
Got it.
But so the video is like, I don't know, it was a little over a half hour, I want to say. And she had one of her flying monkeys comment on it afterwards and accused me of acting like a high school mean girl and I should have just talked to Karlyn about it and blah, blah, blah. And And that was my first taste of, okay, there's a flying monkey and she's trying to gaslight me and make me feel bad about my decision to completely cut myself off from Karlyn, because what I had seen already was so freaking toxic. Why the hell am I going to talk to a toxic sludge barrel of a human being? What's there to talk about? We have nothing in common. You're clearly psychotic. I have nothing to say to you. I have plenty of things to say about you, but I have nothing to say to you personally. You've made your opinions clear on stuff. It's all over social media. I want nothing to do with it. Sayonara. Thought that was the end of it. It was not the end of it. Apparently, Karlyn did a reaction stream to me, which I did not watch. To this day, did not watch. All I know is that it's 51 minutes long, and I don't know what she said. I don't even remember if anybody else watched it and told me what she said. I'm sure it wasn't nice. Don't really care. But the link was unlisted, so you could only, like, if you go to her channel now, you won't find it. You have to, like, have the link specifically, which I guess she did because I'm not, like, a big content creator or public person or whatever. So, oh, thank you for small mercies or something, I guess.
Well, one of the reasons people unlist videos is if they say things that would go against terms of service on YouTube.
Maybe I should watch it.
It keeps people from, you know, stuff like the directed harassment, targeted harassment policies and stuff like that. And it keeps the reach. The algorithm doesn't do anything with the video. So it just sits static. And like you said, unless someone has the actual direct link, they can't watch it. So, you know, that's just food for thought of one of the reasons someone might. Yes, one of the reasons someone might private a video. So I want to go. It looks like this is kind of where we're getting up to it. Is this where she kind of starts attacking your appearances and stuff like that now after this reaction of hers?
So after her reaction, I didn't really want to engage so much, but at the same time, it was really bothering me that she was going after my friends. She was going after Mike Harlow. She was going after Carrie Smith constantly, going after Kieran White constantly, going after a guy named Justice, going after Deb Philman. I mean, all of these people that I considered really good people and friends, she was just constantly targeting and mocking and harassing. And it was sickening to me, to be perfectly honest. It was kind of nauseating. And so I decided that I was going to start a project. And this is actually how my current Twitter handle came to be, Flowers Against, because I wanted to keep it, you know, like a separate project from my main Twitter.
Okay.
And so this project was that, so Kieran had designed a t-shirt, and I should have sent you a picture of it. It's a picture of like a cartoonish version of Karlyn, and she's green, and it says Dr. Do Fuck All underneath it. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, so that's real quick. I just want to give a shout out because those of you that have been in this a lot longer, you guys have quite a few very original nicknames for a lot of the players involved in the situation and Karlyn in general. And as an outsider, it's quite humorous to watch you guys go back and forth. And sometimes I'll read a tweet and not even realize it, and then I'll get like 3 replies down and realize that you were someone was addressing her by a different nickname that I wasn't even aware of, and it's very fun. It's very fun. It keeps all of it interesting. So shout out on that.
Yeah, we have a good sense of humor. I mean, we are, despite Karlyn's accusations about us, we are really happy people, and it's amazing how somebody so toxic and horrible could bring together a group of people into what she calls the Horde. But I mean, we've all become such good friends with each other, and you know, we swap recipes, we talk about plans for the weekend, we share knitting projects and stuff. You know, it's like, you know, there's like gun enthusiasts among us. We all have like these common interests, and we probably would not have met each other online if it wasn't for Karlyn. So shout out to Karlyn. Thank you for that.
There you go.
Yeah. So this project I was doing, I had the shirt from Kieran, and I planned that for every tweet that Karlyn made about one of her main targets, whether it was her main four at the time were Deb Philman, Carrie Smith, Kieran White, and Mike Harlow. So I decided that for every mean tweet she made about them, I was going to embroider a flower on the shirt. And before I even started embroidering the flowers, I decided I was going to cut fringes on the sleeves and put beads on. I was going to put grommets up the side and do like some leather lacing up the side. So every grommet, every fringe, every bead, that was also a tweet. So by the time I got to the freaking flowers, that was already a lot of freaking tweets. So yeah, by the time I had to put down the project because I had reopened my shop and I was starting to get busy again, the entire front of the shirt is covered with flowers. Like, wow. I should have had it ready to show. It's buried over there somewhere though. But it's a project, and I had been logging in my phone. I'd been keeping like a list of, you know, numbers completed versus like what I still have to do. And I'm down by a couple hundred. So if I ever get back to that, that's a lot of sewing to do.
That's a lot of. You're not even going to be able to see the shirt.
No. It's going to weigh like 20 pounds with all the embroidery floss on it. It's going to be like a museum piece.
And this is the same woman that accuses you guys of being a horde or stalkers or stuff like that just because you point out, you know, some pretty valid criticisms of her. You know, the conversations about the Holocaust, her relationship with Aaron, you know, these are things that people who are interacting with her should know. In today's day, in today's day and world, you know, you are kind of judged by who you associate with and who you have on your show and stuff like that. And I can tell you, when Joe had Karlyn on, half the chat knew right off the bat. Like,
that's our work. We did that. We did that. We helped spread the word.
Half the chat was like, don't have this woman on, you know, myself included. And the other half were pretty excited to have her on. You know, she still has a fairly decent reputation to people who aren't really tapped in to all the nitty gritty of everything going on. And that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on tonight, is because people deserve to hear what's actually going on. So, okay, so she's going after them. You're making the shirt. You started your Twitter account.
Yeah.
How did you end up in that group of people she was targeting?
I think, well, it kind of started with, you know, they just kind of, the people clustered around. They liked the project, so everybody thought it was a great project. You know, I had already opened the floodgates with that video I made, and then there was her response, and then she knew I was tracking all of her tweets, so of course that was going to, you know, that was going to bother her tremendously, which good, it should bother you. If you weren't a piece of shit human being, I'd have nothing to react to, but here we are, so.
It's fair.
Yeah, so, I don't know, like maybe stop targeting people like an asshole and people will shut up. But anyway,
and I want to point out, of all the stuff I've seen you, you know, stuff you've shared with me, stuff I've seen you tweet about, I don't see anything that's not true. Verifiably true. Absolutely. And I don't see, you know, okay, some of the nicknames, I guess, are targeting her physical appearance and stuff like that. And that's something I try to steer away from.
We did too, until, and I think I sent you this.
And that's, okay, so is that where we get to this stuff here?
Yes.
Okay.
So she was for the record.
So she was the first one to come at you talking about, you know, physical appearance. Does this person look sane? And then an hour later retweeting it, or quote tweeting it, talking about you're a member of Carrie Smith's horde. And I think the replies speak for themselves. So I'm guessing you guys kind of got in there and people were defending you. And,
no,
and she
actually,
didn't like that.
It was mostly her. There were a lot of her followers that were saying, oh, I don't want to misgender it, whatever it is. I'm sure whatever that is thinks it looks attractive. I'm like, I'm a fucking chick with purple hair. Like, I'm sorry. I was pretty cute in that picture. Like, no freaking. I'm not trying to like blow my own horn or anything, but like I thought that was my Twitter profile picture, and she decided that she was just gonna, I don't know, try to make me feel bad about it. Like, okay, let's use some critical thinking here. If I was insecure about that photo, why would that be my profile picture?
Well, that makes sense. And then there was this other one.
Yes. Apparently I'm woke because I was, I don't know, wearing a hat.
Yeah, I can't even, like, I don't understand the point of this.
She was just, I don't know, trying to make me feel bad, and it was just fucking bizarre. One of her favorite things to do is to alternate between calling me woke and calling me a conservative, which I'm neither. It's like, so I don't know, make up your mind. Am I a horrible woke knitter or am I a conservative? And then of course she would come back and say, you can be conservative and woke because woke means authoritarian. And no, woke does not mean authoritarian. Your definition is awfully crude and does not include anywhere near the full spectrum of what woke actually means. But anyway, that's her favorite thing. And that's part of the reason why nobody should take her seriously as any kind of authority on anything, because she uses the term woke to mean people and things that she doesn't like. She uses it as like as an insult. It's not
right. And she does the same thing with conservative.
Yes.
So where does that leave her is kind of, I guess, my question. If you're gonna attack someone as a conservative and attack people for being woke, I don't understand kind of where that puts you. I know she claims to be a libertarian.
She claims to be an ANCAP now.
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's funny.
Profile, which is hilarious because I don't know how many ANCAPs love running to the police to file harassment reports or whatever she claims she did, but yeah, that doesn't.
Well, okay, let's touch on that. She does claim that she's filed harassment reports against you. Have you had any contact?
Oh, not me.
Or
I don't think she's filed.
It wasn't from you.
No,
so it's just verbal accusations of stalking and harassing.
Yes.
She doesn't actually take action on them.
She has no ground to stand on. She can't, because like you said before, every single thing that I say about her is verifiable with court documents, with video clips, with her own freaking tweets, with screenshots, her own freaking words spit back in her face because she's too dumb to delete the evidence. Every single thing I say about her is verifiable. I don't make things up, unlike
Got it. Okay, let's ask some questions here. Have you ever called her inappropriately on her personal phone, like on the telephone?
I never had her number.
So you've never spoken to her on the phone ever?
No.
Do you show up at her house?
No, although everybody has her address because it's for free on the internet.
Okay, so I did see that, and I was going to address it. Yes, I will. You know, people might get upset with me for this, but I think that was a little bit too far, even if it is.
I didn't
publicly. I know you didn't. I know you didn't, but it was in our threads, and I saw kind of some debate back and forth about people whether it was okay or not. And I come down on the side that even if it's a publicly available address, then anyone who wants it won't have a hard time finding it where she put it to be available. Correct. I don't necessarily think it's appropriate to be sharing it in threads with people who obviously don't like her, because you do never know who's on the other side of those avatars.
Exactly.
And you don't know if that picture gives them the information they need to start doing something wrong. So I don't believe in doing that, but it is rather stupid of her as a controversial person on the internet to have any sort of address publicly available connected to her name. That's not a smart move. So
better safe than sorry.
Correct. Okay, so you've never gone to her place of work or to her house. You've never called her on the phone. Have you ever sent her any threatening or harassing letters?
No.
Okay. So right there.
So now you're wondering, wait, what does she mean by stalking?
Exactly. That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going next. she can't justify the accusations of stalking if none of those things are true. So at most, she's referencing what people call cyberbullying. And I forget the rapper who said it, but like, how do you get cyberbullied? It's you're at a computer, turn that bitch off, walk away. Like, you're choosing to be on the internet, to be a public figure.
Yeah.
You have no right to not be criticized.
Especially when you keep stirring the pot like she does. When you keep targeting people and harassing them repeatedly, you know, part of the thing that it's okay. So part of the reason that I go after Karlyn so much or study her, I mean, because I do study her behaviors. It's extremely fascinating to me because she is a classic study in narcissism. I grew up with a narcissist, and it's through Karlyn that I'm understanding some of the behavior that I was subjected to when I grew up. And it's been really enlightening and educational to me. So it really has been. It's like once I was able to detach myself from the situation, not take anything she says or does personally, and realize it's a function of her personality disorder, a whole new world opened up. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is like getting a college course for free or something, like right in front of me every day. I get to observe the animal in the cage here. Like, this is amazing. One of the things that narcissists love to do is to punish their targets for defending themselves. So they can fling mud, but if you try to fling mud back, oh my God, what, you're a horrible person, and I'm going to mock you forever and ever and shame you, and how dare you. So that's one of the things that I think really she focuses on, is anytime somebody tries to fight back or call her out on her bullshit, she's going to get really pissed off and try to smear them and drag them through the mud. I mean, that's
the side of Karlyn I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really set her off the other night when the whole conversation went off the rails shortly after I sent in my super chat.
How very dare!
Yeah, how dare I? How dare Joe not control his audience? How dare he have me as a mod? How dare he?
You literally paid.
I literally paid to dox her friend. So it's funny, and I'm gonna put it out here right now for everyone watching the stream. Looks like there's almost 80 people in here watching. I appreciate everybody watching. If she responds to this and she accuses me one more time of doxing him, my next stream will be exploring the National Child Sex Offender Registry. Because that's also public information, and jobs and places of employment, and all of those things are public information on said registry. So I would suggest watching the accusations that are thrown at people, because I'll show you how much I can do and still not be doxing a convicted child pornographer. So I just wanted to point that out. So okay, let's see, what else do we have here?
I would like to point out that she actually has doxed one of her targets, Kieran.
Okay. Now that's the one that she tried to seduce, that like worked for her or something.
They were working together on some projects, and she was supposed to go to London to meet him. And on her anniversary, on her 10th wedding anniversary, she sent him a awkward as hell message saying, this was in response to him saying, "Happy anniversary, enjoy steak." So that's why enjoy steak is such a huge joke among us.
Okay. So I remember reading these text messages during the Eliza stuff.
Yeah. If you see somebody saying enjoy steak, that's what it's a reference to.
Got it. Yeah, that was tragic. The level of cringe in those text messages.
And I can say, for if anybody has any doubt as to the veracity of those messages, Kieran came to visit a couple weeks ago. I held his phone in my hand and I looked at those messages for myself on his phone in the Twitter app. They are 100% verified. I have seen them. Other people have seen them. So nobody can claim they were photoshopped. They're real.
There you go. It's a lot harder to Photoshop messages than people think.
Yeah.
I mean, you can Photoshop a completely like new message into a chat, but to change words and not have it be obvious is not easy. And I think her argument is that they're edited, not completely falsified.
They've been untouched. They are virgin messages.
Well, they didn't look edited to me. So
Oh, you just muted yourself.
I did. I didn't mean to. My finger slipped. So she's attacking your looks. This you sent me here. This, I believe, clear this up for me. Is
Oh,
this
yes. She's gone after my business too. So,
okay? So is this her sharing? I'm not familiar with Instagram. I recognize it as Instagram, but I'm not sure exactly what's happening here. So is this her sharing a picture that you had posted,
no,
or is this her commenting?
this is a screen grab from a video. This was a video I had done of a watch me work, see how I create this yarn. This is a yarn called Fame Whore, and I dyed it in honor of my Carlo. So I mentioned her forming victims before. Each one of them has a yarn dedicated to them in my shop, and each one of them gets 20% of the proceeds for perpetuity, like for as long as I'm open. So Fame Whore is my Carlo's yarn because Karlyn calls him Fame Whore all the time. So I did a video explaining this yarn, explaining the inspiration, explaining why I dye it the way I do. I intentionally leave some of the spots white because it was supposed to mimic a background that he uses often when he podcasts. It's kind of like a neon, kind of like paint splattered brick, but the brick is like white. So I intentionally left white spots on the yarn and didn't saturate it fully because of the inspiration it was taken from. So Karlyn, I guess, knowing that her audience is easily duped and that they're not going to bother to go look at the video and that she wasn't going to link to the video, she just decides that she's going to take this screen grab and then tell everybody how I should be dyeing my yarn and how I'm dyeing it wrong. Now, I'm pretty sure that there are since at least 2 knitters that would maybe have potentially bought my yarn that she turned away from my business. I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty strong defamation claim right there if I really wanted to push it and like prove damages with all the shit she said about me. But I mean, obviously I'm not going to do that. But theoretically, I could go talk to a lawyer.
You could. I'm not sure the profit levels of dyeing yarn.
It's the principle of the thing. I don't
care.
Right,
but it probably cost you more to walk through that lawyer's door than damages could be claimed. But I got a question. So this video, this was posted to your business YouTube channel.
Yes.
And was she tagged in it? Was there references to her in it?
There were references to her in it because she had previously, I sent you the picture of the hat. That was when it first started. I had dyed a skein of this yarn, sent it to a friend of mine. There we go. Yes. My friend wound up knitting the hat. She designed the pattern for it. So Karlyn went to this woman's Twitter, this woman who doesn't interact with Karlyn ever. Somehow, I don't know why she was stalking her. She goes to this woman's Twitter, steals the picture of the hat, and then starts talking shit about it and talking shit about my yarn. Because why? Like, what the hell? You're so mad at Mike Harlow that you're just going to shit on a perfectly lovely hat? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? So she did this post. She's shitting all over my work. So that was when I did the Watch Me Work video, and I explained, and
that's when this video happened.
Yes, this is why I leave the white spots. Yeah. And I did respond to her. I think I sent you that too.
You did.
Yes.
We can get that in 1 second. Okay. So you're making this yarn. It's not really anything with her, but she seeks out a customer of yours who's purchased the yarn and created something with it,
Yes.
as well as your video showing you to dye the yarn, in which you
Yes.
explain why the white splotches are there,
Mm-hmm.
and proceeds to go on her whole little scree about you're not saturating the yarn enough,
Not doing it
and
right. It's
you're
shoddy.
not doing it right. Just like YouTube, if you're not doing it the way Karlyn wants you to do it, you're not doing it right.
It's still a joke to this day. They still call me. They're like, "Oh, you're such a lazy dyer. Oh, that's just shoddy work."
Okay, and this was your response. You say, "Hi, Karlyn. You clearly watched the video in which I explained why there are white spots and what my inspiration for the colorway was. So why are you lying to people and trying to smear my work? And why didn't you tag my shop if it's so bad? Are you afraid they'll see all the amazing 5-star reviews I've gotten from happy customers? Go ahead, link my shop and show them how terrible my yarns are. A friend just told me she commented and you immediately blocked her. Maybe you should just delete this post if you're so ashamed of it." So you're not taking her shit, but there's nothing there disrespectful. There's nothing slanderous or scandalous or aggressive. You're just defending your work.
Mm-hmm.
And so how long does this go on? Does this happen with other projects you do with your work? Does this happen? Is she commenting on your videos that you're making that are, because it seems to me so far in this story, if there's anyone who's cyberbullying, it's her. She's coming at your store. She's coming to your livelihood and criticizing the work that you're doing, trying to cost you money. Why wouldn't you defend yourself? And even here, in that response, your early defenses weren't calling out the drama that is involved with her. They were just defending your work very, very politely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a professional, and I stand behind my work 150%. I've never had anybody return yarn. I've never had anybody tell me they weren't happy. I mean, I wish if somebody is unhappy, please freaking tell me. I want to make it right. Like, I'm not going to be offended. I always want people to be happy with what I give them. But I don't really sell much on Etsy anymore because of their policies, but the shop is still open. If anybody wants to go look me up on Etsy, I do have solid 5 stars across the board. Everybody freaking loves my work. I mean,
got it. And I do have a link to your yarn shop in the description.
Yes.
So anybody who's interested, go check out Tina's website. The link's in the description. Support someone who's out here trying to unwoke the yarn, knitting, crocheting world. I mean, it just goes to show you how pervasive this ideology is, that it's creeping into all these little niche marketplaces. So my whole exposure to it was early with Gamergate.
Yeah, this is like our version of Gamergate.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing is you guys are still kind of to this day fighting your little version of knitting gate or yarn gate. We'll call it yarn gate.
The knitting wars.
Yeah, the knitting wars. So, okay, real quick, I do want to take a second. The name is Grifty. It kind of comes with the territory.
Grift away, my friend.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. First of all, it's really awesome.
Smash that like button. Smash it.
There you go. She's got it. That's where we're going here. If I can get everybody to hit that Rumble thumbs up, it really helps on Rumble. There's no distribution algorithm with Rumble. YouTube will suggest stuff to you. Rumble doesn't do that. The only way to get exposure with Rumble is to hit that thumbs up button. It moves you up on the front page, and that's the only way people can find you unless you're sharing that link, which is the next thing I'm going to ask you guys to do. Share this thing out. Let's get this message out. My platform isn't anywhere near as Karlyn's, but Tina's story deserves to be heard. So share this podcast out. Let's let her voice be heard in the world instead of Karlyn's for once. And make sure you subscribe to that channel. And the only other thing, I do have a promo code with Coffee Brand Coffee. It's Jeremy Hambley's coffee company over at the Quartering. He has an affiliate program for small creators. If you use the promo code not a test when you're checking out, you get 5% off your order. I'm always straight up with everybody. If you want to save more money, watch Jeremy's content. His codes will always get you 10% off. If you want to help someone little starting to build something out here, use my code. It's only going to get you 5% off. You're going to get the same great coffee, and you're going to help me out. And I'm going to appreciate it probably a whole lot more than he does, because he's still getting paid either way. So again, that's promo code not a test at coffeebrandcoffee.com. So, all right. I appreciate your patience while I get my grift on. That's right. It kind of comes with the territory. So, okay. So she's attacking your store. She's interfering with your business. Is this where you've kind of had enough and you've decided that you're going to not only defend when she comes into your territory, but you're kind of going to start a counteroffensive and start digging into her? How do you find out? That's a good question. How do you find out about the skeletons in the closet? How do you find out about Aaron? How do you find out about the tweets about the Holocaust and the tweets about child abuse and all of these things? Because some of them look like they're from Discord, maybe, with the purple background. I think
that's her Substack.
That's her Substack. Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't do any of the research for any of that. All that was dug up by either Mike Harlow got it for the Aaron Campbell Brown stuff.
Okay.
That was his original thread that went completely fucking viral and just kind of broke the whole story open. I know those tweets are like from 2014, but goddamn girl, skeletons in your closet. Maybe you should clean them up a little bit. I'm not quite sure how he found that or who did the original investigation on that. There are a lot of people who she's really pissed off now in our so-called horde who they just find stuff. I don't know. These people are magic. They find stuff. They put it in the feed. They tag me in it. And I'm like, oh, hey, look at that. Let's amplify it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So just through the process, and I get how that works. That's how the Eliza thing went down. It wasn't any one person. It was really a dedicated group of people who were passionate about the subject for whatever reason. Some of them were just trolls who were trying to piss people off. Some of them were survivors of sexual abuse and human trafficking that felt like she was, stealing their story.
Yes, that pissed me off more than anything. Like, how dare you grift off of actual survivors of sexual abuse so that, those people, now when they come forward, people are going to be like a little more skeptical, like, oh, did that really happen to you? Because we all know about Eliza Blue. Oh, you were trafficked? Cool story. Okay. That drove me up a fucking wall. Like, anybody still standing for that woman?
Yeah, well, we know Karlyn is, as of a couple days ago when she...
Birds of a feather.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so let's go into some of this other stuff, because this one is something that's really... Let me make sure I'm doing these in the right order. You can help here. You can help me. Let's put this back up here. Is this that the beginning? That's the last one.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So the first one's going to be that one.
There we go. Okay. Yes. So this was on a Substack article where she was claiming that there is no good or evil. Everything is relative. Nothing is inherently good or bad. So this woman brings up a totally
very lefty point. Take, by the way.
You don't say.
Very postmodern leftist argument that you are your own morality.
Yeah.
So okay, so this woman points out that I want to understand your point. Isn't something like child rape bad though? and I'll go ahead and let you kind of take us through it, and I'll switch when you need to and all that.
So Karlyn says, what if you need to experience that as a child in order to have the required life experience to go on and help future rape victims? Which I think even just
Okay.
those two
Sorry.
exchanges.
I know I said I was going to let you. I fucking can't. What in the actual fuck?
Exactly. That's all you. Those
How-
first two exchanges. That's all you fucking need to know.
Okay, you might have this answer. Does Karlyn have children?
No, she does not. Thank God. And she actually hates children. And she has said it. There is a clip
I
floating
can
around.
tell.
Yeah, there's a clip floating around. Maybe somebody will tag you in it. Somebody's already got it. Always got it stored. Where she actually says, haha, ironically, I extremely dislike children. I actually hate children. So again, your activism for children, and you hate children. What are you doing? Why are you doing? What are
Right.
your motivations? What are you doing in this game? Like this
How
is
can
what people need to look at, though, because parents who are trusting her to quote unquote help them navigate this shit, look at her motivations. What is she doing? She's saying one thing, and then she's speaking out of the other side of her mouth and saying something completely different about how she hates kids. What the hell is wrong with you? Wake up. This woman does not want to help your kids. She wants your money. That's it.
Yeah, I just can't. How can an adult, someone who's a doctor of psychology, and I say it that way because she makes clear to specify that she's not a clinician, because if she was, she'd be bound by rules of ethics, which would prevent her from
She could never do
diagnosing
that.
people as narcissists across an internet screen. So she's a doctor of psychology. How can someone like that write a statement like that? To say that abuse has to happen to a child so that one day they can grow up and help future rape victims.
Right. It boggles the mind. There's no good explanation for it other than that she's trying to justify evil. And that's honestly, I just made a connection here. I think that's pretty much the sum total of her existence. She is constantly trying to justify evil, whether it's going after people, targeting people, saying that children deserve to be trans, this, that, and the other thing. She is constantly justifying evil. And this is a prime example of it. There's also, I didn't send you a video.
And shout out to Lena for coming back at her and saying that's easy to say if you're not the child whose life is destroyed. Because, I mean, that's just, like, it's no wonder that she defends Aaron. And we're gonna get into Aaron in a little bit here. But it just makes sense that she can defend someone like that, because in her head, you need that trauma to fill later roles in the economy.
Yeah.
Basically.
There's a video clip where she flat out says, somebody had posted something about, maybe you should, something about keeping your children away from a pedophile neighbor or whatever. And so I should have sent it to you. She says, she reads out the tweet. She's like, are you saying that we shouldn't keep our children away from pedophile neighbors? And then she goes, well, yeah, that sounds pretty intrusive to me. Like, you shouldn't intrude.
Is she one of these people that thinks that they shouldn't have to register their addresses or not move close to schools? Because that's a new movement that's going on.
I'm not aware of that, but if she's claiming to be an ANCAP and she's defending her pedophile ex-boyfriend, then I'm going to go ahead and say probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm not putting words in her mouth. I'm not giving her any position that she doesn't have, but I would not be surprised if she came out and said that. Because that would be intrusive. We don't want to intrude.
And to be clear, I identify as an anarchist. I'm a very pragmatic one, though. I catch a lot of flack from the anarchist community because I do participate in our election processes, and I do think that it's important for people to participate and be pragmatic with their decisions in real life, and not let their utopian views of what the world should be keep them from affecting what the world is.
Right.
But in my anarchist utopia, like, I guess, sure, her and her ilk would be allowed to run a community like this.
It's not a
But
Liza Blues anarchist utopia, just so we're clear.
well, it sounds like they're pretty close.
Well, yours isn't, is what I'm
No,
saying.
mine
Yours
is
is not
not,
hers.
because in mine, we would be free to go wipe them off the face of the map.
That sounds like my utopia, yes.
And that's kind of how that goes. So it, but that's neither here nor there. I can't get over the fact that you would infer that abuse has to happen to children for future, economical gain
And what
or
about the children
utility.
that don't turn into counselors? What about the children who never recover?
What about the ones that go on to abuse more children?
That too.
Because most pedophiles were abused as children. I don't have the
It's a
exact
cycle.
statistic on it, but it's pretty well documented that a large number of adults who abuse sexually abused children were themselves abused as a child. So what about those kids? So that's my question. I can't get over that. And her response isn't any better here. She goes on and says, "You assume the life is destroyed. There are plenty of people whom this has happened to whose lives are not destroyed.
So it's
Not
okay.
Yeah,
It's
not as many
totally
who are
fine.
destroyed."
It's not a big deal. It's totally fine. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I want to take this minute. If anybody is doubting what abuse as a child can do to a human being, there's a series on YouTube called Soft White Underbelly. You should go check it out. This guy has spent the last 10 years interviewing people on Skid Row in California, and completely unfiltered. We're talking prostitutes, pimps, gangbangers, drug addicts, everybody. He interviewed an inbred family in West Virginia. He'll show you that show will show you what happens when kids are abused. So to infer that it's necessary just so a few of them have life experience enough to be counselors in the future is disgusting. I just can't deal with it. I have 3 kids, and reading this type of stuff makes me irate. It's the reason I do it. It's for people like this. And then to have her claim to fight for the same things I fight for
Right.
is even worse.
She's a fraud.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah. So it comes out better in the female voice. So I'm gonna let you respond or read Karlyn's response here, because
Okay.
it's gross.
I'm going to preface this by saying that this is a common tactic of hers. When somebody challenges her on something or asks her to clarify a point or says, you say that you said this here, but I'm not seeing the evidence. This is what she goes into. You're not trying to understand this, even though you claim you are. If you do not understand, read this again and think, and then read it again and think some more. Repeat this until you understand. But don't bring your baggage here just to be outraged or victimized. I'm not playing that game.
So she's saying, this is my opinion. My opinion is the truth. If you don't agree with it, go back to step A until you agree with it.
Yes.
Otherwise, go away.
Otherwise, you have baggage. You're inferior. Get away from me. You're not good enough to have this discussion with me because you don't understand. You're not on my level.
Okay, so I'm starting to see why people refer to her and her group of followers as a cult, because that's very cult-like behavior right there. Like,
Yes.
you cannot stray from her exact worldview. And if you do, because this is obviously on her Substack, this is someone who has subscribed to her Substack, who finds her work valuable, and yet she's coming, and I noticed that she attacks people who are her supporters if they don't fall in line, which is again very cult-like.
At the drop of a pin, she'll do it. Like the slightest little insinuation that the person is questioning her or doesn't agree with her or is trying to understand something better or wants to bring up a counterpoint, bada bing, bada boom. All of a sudden, it's like armor on, full drawn out, like, how very dare, you're not smart enough to be in my audience. Screw you.
I just got to point out how very New York that bada bing, bada boom was. Gotta point that out. That was classic. I appreciate it. I'm gonna clip that and make it into like a GIF so that you have it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom, motherfuckers.
To go on a little tangent real quick. Speaking of New York, how are you enjoying living in sepia tone today?
Holy cow! Okay, so I am not remotely sensitive to smoke or anything. I'm not I don't have asthma, I don't have allergies,
right.
But even with the fucking windows closed, it was like, it gives you like that panicky feeling, like that baseline panic, like, is the building on fire? Like, logically, I know what's going on, but you still have like, that animal instinct, like, something's wrong. So like the whole day I've just been like,
yeah. Well, full disclosure, I'm in Delaware, so I'm not too far away. So we are. We're not like you guys are, though.
Yeah, it was orange here before.
Yeah, it's not dense enough to where it's like the orange light is saturating through it. But all day I've been like wiping my glasses off and all that because I'm outside and you just can't. Yeah. And I do have asthma, and I couldn't spend. I'm in a rural area, so I have garden outside and all that, and I couldn't spend more than about 30 minutes outside today without coming in because it is horrible. So Canada, get your shit together.
Stop lighting your farts on fire.
Yeah, get your shit together. We don't want your garbage smoke. So sorry, I'm also ADHD and went on a tangent. So
it's quite all right. I just want to say that like this is a time that I will not mock in my head anybody wearing a mask on the street, because I was seriously thinking to myself before, like, I should have worn a mask outside because it was hazy. It was like I thought, maybe, it's not going to protect you from COVID, but smoke particles are bigger, and maybe it'll protect me from those. So
it will indeed actually protect you from smoke if you wear an N95 mask. So
now you all should be wearing.
Now we figured out something they work for.
Yes.
So okay, so this is where she's like, get in line or go away.
Yeah. And then you can't even see the woman's comeback because she was banned.
She banned her. Oh, what a familiar trend.
Oh, but we're not creating an echo chamber, are we?
No, never. So that's another thing. She is infamous for blocking. I know many people during the Eliza Blue thing that were blocked by Karlyn, without ever interacting with her.
Oh, she does that all the time. Anybody
for commenting on a thread. Yeah. She would go through and block anyone who even engaged with a thread by myself or DeFango or Chrissy Mayer or Howard Rourke had the ongoing list of who had been banned for the pictures and stuff like that. Anyone in those comment sections were just getting banned without ever interacting with her. And it's ridiculous that I don't ban anybody. The worst I do is mute people who spam. And I report the crypto bots that DM me 20 times a day. But other than that, I don't ban anybody. I told you before we came on here, I said I have a 100% free speech, policy in the comment section on my stream. People, I believe, and just like you said, sunlight is the best disinfectant. I want people to be who they are so I can judge based off that. So I don't get the whole blocking thing. It's funny to me, and it's just another example of her showing her hand as a lefty.
Yeah, she likes to talk about she's curating her audience. That's her justification for it. She's curating her audience. She wants a small group of followers. You have to have an IQ of at least 100, which I find hilarious because if you've ever interacted with some of these people, that's questionable.
Well, I'll be honest, the few of her fans that I interacted with, in chat on the stream with Joe and stuff like that were actually very respectful. User by the name of Wyoming Gal and another one by M16
eventually, right?
Yes. So both of those two on the night Karlyn was on Joe's stream were debating with me and defending Karlyn as I pointed out things about Aaron and her blocking everybody and stuff like that. They were arguing with me. And then when Karlyn went back and rewatched Joe's response stream and saw that they had super chatted Joe and weren't 100% supporting her, she proceeded to block both of them from her channel.
Nuked them completely.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
So here's a point I want to bring up about Karlyn. I'm sorry to interrupt, but before
you're fine.
She seems to be different across different platforms. So she's a very different person on YouTube than she is on Twitter. And I think her YouTube audience is largely unaware of, however much of them are real. I highly doubt her platform on Twitter on YouTube is 100% genuine. But I don't think a lot of them see her on Twitter because there are a lot less people on Twitter than there are on YouTube. And I don't think they see her behaviors and they see the exposés of her. And I'm sure it's the same, she's different on Facebook. She's a different person on Instagram. And to a certain extent, I understand, each platform is different, presentation wise, like you're going to present different content, but the people that see her on YouTube think of her as somebody who does this work and does this activism. They don't see her shitty behavior and her tweets and her this, that, and the other thing, and her going after people. Maybe they've seen her Carrie Smith videos. Maybe they missed the Carrie Smith videos. It seems like the people that still follow her and think of her in good faith are kind of in a bubble. I don't think they've been exposed to a lot of this stuff.
Or you might say an echo chamber.
Yes.
Because she bans anybody who points any of this stuff out in a heartbeat. That was one of her biggest complaints about Good Logic, was that he doesn't control his chat. Joe has 3 rules in his chat on YouTube, and that's no racism, no violating terms of service, no spamming. If you're not doing that, you get to say what you want. And people rag on Joe all the time. That's the group, that's the world I come from. So when people get on me, I laugh at it. I lean into it. It's funny. And it's the only way to survive on the internet.
You have to have a thick skin if you're going to put yourself out there. Yeah. You can't be like a little weenie baby, like, oh my God, this person criticized my haircut. Oh my God, my day is ruined. Like, so what? Were you going to sleep with that person? No, then it doesn't fucking matter.
It really doesn't matter. Like, I have people that I'm friendly with, but I subscribe to the Nick Rekieta policy of the internet. If I haven't met you in real life, we're not friends. Like, you can't be a friend with somebody unless you've actually met them. I can be friendly with people, but I don't know. It's like she wants
dimension when you're face to face.
Yeah,
you have to be able to read people's body language and stuff.
Exactly. And it's like she expects everybody. I think this is the only social interaction she gets is online.
Yeah.
And if anyone even questions, her opinions or her worldview, she immediately expels them. She only wants to be confirmed by her audience.
Yes, she needs constant validation as a narcissist. That's what she needs.
Which is gross.
Yeah.
And
It's a
so
function of the disorder, though.
I guess. And okay, so the ignoring of the welfare of children continues here with this tweet. And these are all, since she became I don't want to say famous because she's not famous. But since she gained notoriety in the internet world. Am I right with that? That a
Yes.
lot. Okay. So this is all as she's been a public figure.
Yes.
Again, you have Hannah Made It here tweeting out, tweeting at her. Therefore, children are responsible for the abuse their parents put them through. And her answer is yes, they choose it on a spiritual level.
This is her spiritual belief that she claims. And if you say anything against this, she will scream at you that you are persecuting her. You are trying to force Christianity down her throat. You're being an authoritarian. You're denying her religious beliefs. She gets so defensive about this. It's,
Karlyn.
yes.
Karlyn.
It's
real
so
quick.
disgusting. Yes.
Karlyn, if this is your religious beliefs, I hate them as much as Islam. And I think they're incompatible with the West. If your religious belief thinks that children are choosing the abuse that's put on them, you can go fuck yourself. I
agree. Full stop.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to. God. On the fucking wall. That's where she belongs. On the fucking wall, right with her boyfriend. I just can't take it anymore. I'm gonna fucking say it. That's a figure of speech. It's not a direct call to action, so everyone's clear. But God fucking damn it. How can someone be this big of a piece of shit and have parents following them? I guess that's my biggest issue is she has normie parents in her audience listening to her about the trans stuff in schools or whatever, who probably don't even realize that this woman is saying things like this.
Exactly. And that is exactly why I and so many other people will not shut the fuck up about her. Because like I said, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And the more she's exposed, the more people know about her, the more people tell other people about her and say, oh, you support this woman? Well, did you know that XYZ? And then like, oh, hold on. Let me think twice about this decision before I give her my money. Because you know what? I am 100% pro free speech. I don't think she should be deplatformed. I think she should be able to say whatever she wants. I don't believe that people should be paying her money for it. I do not believe she should be supported financially for the shit that she's putting out.
Agreed. And I think it's important that you guys are taking the time to make sure that as many people as possible know the type of things that this woman is saying so that hopefully they stop paying her for it.
Yes. Well, that's why we're called stalkers, because that's what we do.
But it's so
that's
gross.
why she calls us stalkers and says that we're obsessed with her and we're unhinged and we're lunatics. And the fact of the matter is, so I want to make a point very, very clear here, because I've gotten a couple people asking questions. I got a lot of people saying, why do you continue to do this? Just ignore her. She'll go away. That's not the way this works. That's not the way this works. When you ignore people like Karlyn who have cluster B personality disorders, they get into positions of power because they were ignored. Somebody gave them a promotion. They rose to the top. They bullied their way to the top because people turn the other cheek and let them have their way. That's how these people rise to power. You do not ignore these people. You expose these people continuously. We know 100% Karlyn's behavior is not going to change. This is a fact. She's a narcissist. As a low and mid-level narcissist, she cannot become self-aware. She will never acknowledge that she is a narcissist. She will never acknowledge that there is anything wrong with her and she needs help. Her behavior, however, is extremely obvious to the rest of us. We all know she's a danger. She's a predator. She's a grifter. We all know that she could really benefit from some, real therapeutic intervention there. Not going to happen. So the reason that we're doing this is to keep exposing her to other people. We want other people to know what kind of a person she is. We know she's not going to change. She's going to be a monster her entire fucking life. We know that. We keep railing against her and we keep screaming so that people know. We're spreading awareness. It's all we're doing. Ignoring her is not the answer. Full stop, 100%. I will never ignore her, and I will never take advice from people that tell me to ignore her. Because the thing is, us ignoring her is contingent on everybody ignoring her. You can't control what other people do. You can't tell everybody else to ignore her. She's always going to have her supporters, just like Eliza Blue is always going to have her supporters. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. People are gullible, they're stubborn, they don't want to admit that they were wrong about somebody. All you can do is keep spreading the truth, because the truth will always win and it will always come out in the end. You cannot hide the truth.
There you go. That's about all there is to it, you know, as far as the stalking accusations. You guys aren't making any, you know, you're not making any denials that you're kind of going where she goes to let people know where she's at, but that's not stalking, that's exposing, that's investigative, you know, that's journalism, I guess, in a way. You guys are doing the work that she thinks is so valuable over there at Project Veritas, and she's criticizing you for it because she's the target of that work.
Well, the thing I was saying to one of her fellow targets today is that there are no legal consequences for being a narcissist. The shit that she's done, the shit that I went through as a child, that's not illegal. Those people will never face legal action for what they did. Being a bullying, gaslighting Darvo queen is not illegal. However, just because there aren't legal consequences doesn't mean that there aren't social consequences. And the
Right.
social consequences of acting like a bullying, gaslighting Darvo queen piece of shit are that you are constantly going to be exposed and people are going to be alerted about you, because what else can we do?
Right. And the right, or the America First movement, or whatever you want to call it, because it's so hard to describe. You know, I don't like labeling myself on the right, and I'm definitely not a Republican, but you know, I am a MAGA, America First, you know, Trump
America,
supporting,
fuck yeah.
right? Like it's kind of incumbent on us to not do what the left does, and that's, you know, forgive all the bad stuff about somebody if they're saying the right talking points at the right time.
Right.
That's what gets us in trouble. That's what the left and the mainstream media uses to take us down when we start to gain traction. It's like, oh, you had this person on your stream one time who says she believes all the kids that are getting abused, it's their fault because they're choosing it. So you must believe that. So you don't really care about kids. And that's how they do this thing. And the right is so guilty of anyone who isn't your typical right winger. If you're a black guy or a black woman or any minority of any sorts, or any, you know, gay or lesbian, transgender person who doesn't buy into the rainbow mafia agenda, if you look like you should be a lefty, you have dyed hair, and you know,
You have a mohawk.
you mohawk and big big wide frame glasses, but you're talking against this stuff, the right will just grab you up and elevate you, and it makes us look stupid. People like Karlyn being elevated and viewed as a valid trendsetter or opinion maker on the right is just disgusting. Just as bad as like Candace Owens or any of these other, there's so many of these other grifters. It's not funny. And they don't believe what they're talking about. And it's very obvious when they actually get talking what they actually believe. Listening to Karlyn talk about the Project Veritas thing, Joe said it on his stream, and it really triggered the shit out of her because it was so apt of a description, was almost textbook Marxist description of economics. She thinks the worker, i.e., the anonymous undercover journalist, is more important than the capitalist, i.e., James O'Keefe, who built Project Veritas from the ground up over the last 20 years and is the only person out there even doing undercover journalism. Without him, they wouldn't have a job.
Exactly.
And she thinks they're more important than him. It's textbook Marxism. And to have that called out, I think the reason she reads so hard when these things happen is because they threaten her grift. If someone who can assemble their thoughts in a calm, articulate way points these things out, then people are going to start realizing what's happening. And her gravy train is over.
Yeah.
Because I checked the other day, she has I think 13,000 subscribers on her Substack. Now I'm not sure how many of those are paid, but if I think subscribers are all paid. I think you have to pay to be considered a subscriber. I don't really know about Substack. I don't pay anyone on Substack.
So, because there's a few Substacks I subscribe to that I don't pay for.
Okay, so maybe they can allow them to be free.
But there's certain content that you have to pay for. If you want like all the posts, then you have to pay for it.
Okay, so I guess we can't infer exactly what she's making off that. But even without talking about the money side of it, that's 13,000 people she's speaking to every time she publishes an article. Every time she puts one of these things out that makes her look like she's on our side, it's confirming that to them. And like you said, they're not following her over to Twitter where she does, the majority of her attacking, or maybe even not following her to YouTube where she does her restreams about anyone who she's upset off of lately.
I will say on her Substack, however, she does have a couple of different Substacks. She's got other Twitter accounts. One is called The Art of the Trigger, where she talks about how she likes to psychologically fuck with people. One is called Disenrage, and that's where I think that was actually the one where she talked about there's no good or evil. But it's also worthy of note that I believe it's 17 chapters now, she has an entire smear campaign dedicated to Carrie Smith. And it's called Surviving Carrie Smith, which is like saying, I survived a perfectly buttered English muffin this morning. I survived petting a kitten. I survived a 72-degree walk in the park on a sunny day. There is nothing to survive about Carrie Smith. She is one of the nicest fucking people on planet Earth, and I will die on this hell. I have a card from her on my refrigerator, as a matter of fact. But it's kind of mind-boggling that all this stuff is up on that same platform, and I don't think people are somehow aware of it. Which, I mean, if you go to somebody's Substack and you're like, okay, cool activism stuff, they're queering the trans kids, autistic sex education, but then you stumble across this 17-chapter obsession with a woman named Carrie Smith, aren't you going to be like, whoa, back up to Charlie Car, what's going on here? What's that? I don't know what's going on with that. I don't really go on Substack often. I don't navigate it, so I don't know how easy it would be to find those things, but I do know that she's promoted herself on Twitter across all these different Substacks. So
okay, so I'm trying to see what else do we have here that you'd sent me. There were a couple things you had sent me that you wanted to go over. Let's put this back up and you can kind of tell me what we got going on here.
Oh, okay. So this is really interesting. So Karlyn follows this guy called HG Tudor. And I think it chaps her ass to no end that he agreed to go on Carrie Smith's show and not her show. Karlyn is one of his biggest fucking fans. HG Tudor is a self-aware narcissist. He's I think he calls himself a super narcissist or something. And he he writes a lot about, different celebrity narcissists. Like he has this whole thing on Meghan Markle, and he speaks about his own experiences and his own behaviors. And Karlyn has bought so many of his books. She's a total fucking fangirl for him. Like, notice me, senpai, notice me. And she herself, this is an important point. So this woman says, one thing I'll be searching for an answer on is whether there's any benefit for the lesser or mid-level to become aware that they're a narcissist. I mean, benefit to family and friends. And he says they cannot become aware. And what he means by lower level is lower IQ level. They don't have the IQ and the self-awareness to know that they are engaging in bad behavior. Their brains can't comprehend it. So I didn't send you the screenshots from this. I didn't
know the context on what it was, but okay. I kind of think I get the point you're trying to make here. Is just kind of, this is someone that she views as, that she's a fan of, pointing out the fact that there's no way that someone who's a unintelligent narcissist would be able to recognize that they're a narcissist.
Correct. So the context to this, though, and I said I restrained myself. I didn't want to send you like an entire freaking novel of screenshots. I challenged Karlyn to go take his test. He has a test on his website where you can submit writings from somebody or speech or whatever, and he will analyze what this person says and tell you whether or not he thinks they're a narcissist. So she says she's going to go take his narc detector test right now. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to his website to check it out for myself to see how long this is going to take, how much it's going to cost, whatever. If I remember correctly, it costs around like $100 or something. And you have to submit a certain amount of words. And if you go over the certain amount, of course, you have to pay extra. Of course, because he's a narcissist. So he's
right.
going to... So anyway, don't hear anything for a long time. So a couple months later, I'm like, okay, well, this should have happened in like 3 weeks or something, tops. So I poke and prod her about it from a burner account I had. And I'm like, hey, Karlyn, how'd that narcissist thing go? Did you get your diagnosis back? You were really excited about being diagnosed as a narcissist. You said you were going to embrace it. Are you a narcissist? And of course, like all of us on this side of the fence were like, of course she's a narcissist. Of course he's going to tell her she's a narcissist. She gets really fucking pissed off one night and does a stream, claims that she submitted the money. She tried to get him to diagnose her, and he gave her money back, said he wouldn't because it had to be like a third-party thing. You could only submit it for somebody else. And I think the reason he did that is because he knows that she has spent so much fucking money on him. She has spent so much time simping for him. And furthermore, she claims that she didn't take the money back. She let him keep it for his quote-unquote angel fund that he has for people that can't pay for his services or something, which I find it hard to believe that a narcissist has an angel fund, but whatever. I don't know either way.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the fund exists. Whether or not anyone ever gets approved to benefit from it is a whole nother story. So, okay, so I get where you're going with that. Look, I'm not a psychologist, and one of the things I criticize her most for is diagnosing people like James O'Keefe, particularly, as a narcissist without ever talking to him in person. So,
well, she thinks she's an expert because of this. Like, she's read so much of his work that she just thinks she is the absolute be-all, end-all expert next to H.G. Tudor, which it makes it so much more amusing that she can't see herself for what she is.
Right. And well, I guess the part that gets me is I don't know how you can do what she does and not realize that you at least have narcissistic tendencies. Why else would you be broadcasting yourself on the internet and thinking other people want to hear what you have to say? Like, there has to be a certain level of narcissism. And yes, this is me being 100% self-aware at this moment. Like, there has to be a certain level of narcissism to want to put yourself through this and think that of all the millions of people trying to make it in the world, that you have that thing that's special enough to get it done.
I don't think she views it as as narcissism, though. I think she, in her mind, she's the chosen one because, you know, she always says she's the only one doing this. She's the only one. And she didn't want to do this. She didn't want to be an influencer or a commentator. She didn't want to do it. She's forced to do this. So I think it's, in her mind, it's not, oh, I think I'm really good at what I do. Let me put it out there, and I bet other people will like it. It's like, no, I'm the chosen one. I'm Jesus. I'm the martyr. You know, I'm doing this for you. And you'll see that theme a lot. Just recently, she was going to read a book or something, and she was like, I'm sacrificing myself for you guys. So, yeah. It's pretty gross.
So, okay. So this is another one.
Another example of her not being self-aware. In behavior that she engages in constantly, she is preaching against. Like, really? Make it make sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I think we showed earlier with some of the attacks she makes on you. She's not afraid to go after another human being, which is funny because if we take her side of things, she accuses you of being mentally unstable, having to go into a mental institution, and then proceeds to attack your appearance, attack your work, attack your customers. That seems like, if her belief was correct, it seems like she's trying to push you back to that type of on the edge mental scenario, which is gross in and of itself.
And
Like,
it's also, she can't do it because I don't take anything she says or does personally. I learned to detach a long time ago because in order to fully appreciate and analyze what she's doing, I realized I would have to be objective and not have any emotions in it. And once I fully acknowledged and realized, you know, this is not really coming from her. This is a function of her personality disorder. She's the one who's mentally ill. She has the disorder. This is her disorder acting out, and it's also, nothing she says is a reflection of me. Everything she says is a lie. So, I mean, if she one day said, Tina, you're a blonde, I'd have to like go look in the mirror and double check, like, am I still blonde? That's how much of a liar she is. She just lies constantly all the time. It's a compulsion for her. I would really, really love to pin her down, look her in the eye, and say, where the fuck did you get the idea that I was institutionalized for a goddamn year? Where was I institutionalized? From what date to what date? And what the fuck for? And also, where the hell was I? Because I have no recollection of that whatsoever. So, show me receipts.
yeah, well, that's one thing she claims all the time, that she's got all these receipts.
But she doesn't. And then she will tell you, read it again and again and again until you see it. But it's not there. You're not going to find it because the proof is not there. Everything that I say about her has receipts.
This is the question I have to ask, because I have looked and I have not been able to find. Hang on one second.
Goddamn Canada.
I know.
Fucking Canada.
I have looked and I have not been able to find it. She claims that her ex-boyfriend, Aaron, who we've talked about, was falsely convicted, and she has shared all the receipts to prove this.
I have yet to see a single one.
Okay, I can't find them anywhere.
They don't exist.
You haven't seen them anywhere?
No. Okay.
So
it's right on par with I was institutionalized for a year. Cootsie.
Yeah, damn Canada. Yeah, so that's the funny part about me, or with me, because that's the thing that me and her have really gone at it, because I obviously have a problem with pedophiles. Shocker, newsflash.
Everybody should. Everybody should have a problem with pedophiles. If you don't have a problem with pedophiles, I have a fucking problem with you. Full stop.
Exactly. And that's where my issues with Karlyn come in, is when I found out that she dated this guy who's been convicted of child pornography. Like, that's one thing. Okay, everybody's got a past. You weren't with them. You didn't know, whatever. But then when I saw that she defends him. That, and still to this day, defends him.
Her innocent friend that was doxxed
Yeah.
and smeared. The truth is not a smear. The truth is not defamation.
Right. I just don't understand how anybody can take her seriously after that. Like,
I've been screaming this for a while.
Right, as a standard bearer for the don't trans our kids movement in schools, like acting like she gives a shit about these children, yet defends someone who was abusing children in probably the worst way possible. I don't understand how anyone takes her seriously. And I guess my question is to someone who was a fan of hers, does it not come up? Because she claims that she's done streams about him and that she's discussed it multiple times over the last 2 or 3 years. Every time the right-wing smear merchants come for her talking about him and doxing him, she says she addresses it, but I can't find any evidence that she's ever addressed it. So I'm trying to figure out, does her audience know that this thing exists and just take her word for it about it, that it's not what it seems like, or is it just unknown because she's so quick to ban people?
Okay, so here's the thing. If she claims it was over the last few years, that's a fucking lie, because as far as I know, it's within the last year that this was discovered, and probably within like the last 6 to 8 months, I believe, that thread was published and it became common knowledge that she was with a convicted child pornographer. So right off the bat, not years. Not
Okay.
years. What
Yeah,
the hell?
she claims 2 years.
She claims 2 years for a lot of things. I mean,
She
she
does.
claims I've been stalking her for 2 years when I wasn't even on the internet 2 years ago. So, yeah, go eat a bag of dicks, bitch. You're fucking lying again. So, as far as anything where she's posted receipts or whatever, as far as I know, I mean, because I'm not going to sit there and watch her content.
Right.
God bless those of us that do. Some people can watch her shit and they get clips and they send me clips and they're like, oh my God, she just said this, that, or the other thing. I'm pretty sure.
I've watched a couple streams in the last week and it was bad.
My condolences.
I think.
How's your stomach? Is it a little?
It's okay. The level of intoxication at the end of the one the other night should demonstrate how hard it is to get through, because I was pretty bad off. But she's just unbearable to listen to. She really is.
I'm pretty sure her idea of receipts is I said it, so it must be true.
Got it.
I said he was innocent. I said he was doxxed. It happened. Trust me, dude. Trust me. Trust me. If you don't trust me, I'm going to block you.
Got it. Now, was Mike Harlow the one to originally break the stuff about Aaron, or was he just the one that assembled it and kind of amplified it because he had the biggest platform?
Honestly, not entirely sure. All I know is that huge thread came from him. So I don't know if he worked with somebody on it. I feel like I should know that, and I'm sorry, guys. I mean, maybe somebody in the chat can say, but
no, it's fine. Mike's actually been in the chat. Mike and Kieran have both been in the chat.
Hi, fellas. I love you
all night, actually. So I'm not sure if they're still out there right now.
My hoodie still smells like you guys, by the way.
So StreamYards unfortunately doesn't pull in Rumble chats in the window where you can see them, but I have my chat open on my phone, while I'm doing it. So I've been keeping an eye on it. I've seen them out there. So, okay. So I don't know. I think we've touched on everything you sent over to me today. I guess right now I want to give you the floor and let you say any, I guess, last thoughts about this whole situation, anything that you want to get off your chest, because, like I said, the thing that made me reach out to you in the first place and ask you to do this tonight was the fact that I fucking hate bullies. I hate them with a passion. And someone with a platform like her attacking somebody on their business pages, on their personal pages, making accusations about things, crimes. Stalking is a crime. And she doesn't drop any receipts other than the fact that you're trying to expose her for the grifter that she is. It pisses me off. And my reach is tiny. It doesn't go far, but it's better than not being able to say your piece. So I wanted to give you a chance to actually get out here and have your side of the story heard. So I guess before we wrap up, go ahead and kind of sum it all up for us, how you feel, and any, if you have any words for Karlyn, let's hear them.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate this. I don't care how big your platform is. The fact that you made the gesture, that means a lot to me. And judging from the messages and the comments and the tweets I got today, I know it means a lot to a lot of people too. So I hope you get a fuck ton of new subscribers from this. I hope you grow and blow up tremendously in the best way possible. I want to reiterate the point that everything I say about Karlyn, I can back up with receipts, whether it be screenshots, Karlyn's own words, clips, video clips, court documents about her ex-boyfriend. Every single thing I say about her is 100% factually correct information. Everything Karlyn has said about me, as we have shown over the course of this stream, has been proven to be a lie. Karlyn does not provide receipts for anything she said about me. And to anybody who is a follower of hers who may be watching this stream, I have zero doubt Karlyn will take this stream. She will take stuff out of context. She will try to twist things around. She will try to make me look a certain way. She will certainly attack Grifty now and make him look a certain way. Which, you know what? Good luck with that, because I think we've just proven that neither one of us are soft.
Come at me, bro.
Fucking
come at me, bro.
Come on.
All right, sorry. Back to you. You get the spotlight again.
I'm ready to throw hands, motherfucker. Let's fucking do this. I am not a soft target. He's not a soft target. If you are going to step to me, you better bring your fucking A game. You better bring receipts. And if you think that you can just continue to keep lying to people and being like, oh, no, trust me. It's, you don't believe me because you're not smart enough. No, I totally provided the evidence. If you keep trying to play that game with people, they see through it eventually. And when they see that everything I have said here is true, and that everything that Grifty has said is true, and that Grifty asked me questions that I have provably answered honestly to, I think if you are on the side of logic and truth yourself, and you truly care about your children's well-being, you have no choice but to see Karlyn for the fraud and the grifter and the narcissist that she is. And I will not shut up about her. I will not shut up about her until her behavior stops, which is going to be never. So in the meantime, all I can do is hope to continuously expose her to more and more people, create the ripple effect. The more people know about her, the less people will support her. And that is the goal here. So Karlyn, your days are numbered. Full stop. You're muted.
I really suck at this. I apologize to everybody. So there you go. There you go. That's the word straight from Tina. We gave her a chance to say what she had to say to address the accusations that Karlyn's made against her. You did great. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You guys are great. You got a lot of cool people behind you, by the way. So
I know, and I love them all.
Yeah, they're great. You guys have been sharing this stuff out. There's a ton of you that showed up to support Tina, which is awesome. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't fall victim to people like Karlyn. Watch out for the grifters online. Only fall for grifters who admit to their grifting up front.
Yes.
Like
honest grifters.
Like your boy. So, like share, and subscribe to the stream. I appreciate subscribe to this channel. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's been a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it, and maybe in the future we can try to work it out and have you back on, and maybe we can get Mike and Kieran to join us. I know they're much larger, but maybe get them to join us, and we can really kind of do a deep dive into the Aaron thing, because I'd like to know more about that, and maybe see if we can't locate her responses and try to debunk those responses.
She could give those responses herself if they existed.
She can. She's more than welcome. There's an open invite, and I can't control chat, deal with it, but I ensure nothing but respectful debate and conversation if she ever chooses to come on. But I think we both know how that goes. It's never going to happen. So until then, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. You guys rock. And that's the show for tonight. So everybody have a great night. Peace.
Christy. Christy. Christy.